This week, grammar resolves a question for us in Mark chapter 1, verses 21 and 22. Let's start out by reading those two verses from the ESV, and then we'll talk about one part of verse 22. And they went into Capernaum, and immediately on the Sabbath he entered the synagogue and was teaching. And they were astonished at his teaching, for he taught them as one who had authority and not as the scribes. So our focus today is on the first part of verse 22. They were astonished at his teaching. There's a bit of ambiguity here in English. They could either be astonished by the fact that he was teaching, like who does this guy think he is? Why is this guy showing this degree of audacity or inappropriateness to come in here and start teaching? Or it could be about the content of what he was teaching. The good news is that there's no ambiguity in the Greek in this phrase. So let's take a look at the Koine and see exactly what it is that Mark was trying to tell his readers. Kai exaplesanto epi te didache autou. So kai and exaplesanto, they were struck with amazement. Epi at te didache, the teaching or the doctrine autou of him. In other words, his teaching or his doctrine. There's only one verb in our phrase, and it's exaplesanto. It's an imperfect tense, passive voice, indicative mood, third person plural. We would translate it, they were struck with amazement, or they were astonished. And it comes from ekpleso, and hold on to that word because it's going to be the word of the week on Wednesday. There's a couple of really interesting things about that word that we'll look at on Wednesday. But that's the action in the phrase. The action is the crowd, they were astonished. That's the action. Why were they astonished? From what were they astonished? And we're told, epi, at or on, te didache, the teaching or the doctrine, and this is a noun, it's not a verb, it's not the act of teaching, it's the body of information being taught. They were astonished at the teaching or the doctrine autou of him, his teaching or his doctrine. So because te didache is a noun and it's modified with this genitive of source, the teaching of him, his teaching, we know that we're talking about the body of information that he brought to them, the body of information that came from him. So if Mark wanted us to understand this the other way, if Mark wanted us to think that they were astonished by the fact that Jesus was doing the teaching, he wouldn't use a noun, he would use a verbal participle like didaskon. So that would tell us that they were astonished at the fact that he was the one doing the teaching. Not the content, but who does this guy think he is? Why is this guy teaching in this place where he's not the rabbi, he's not recognized as one of the scribes? And of course, that's not what we get. We don't get a verbal participle, we get the noun, te didache, the teaching, the body of teaching, the doctrine of autou of him that came from him. So why does it astonish them? We're told in the verse because the content of what Jesus is teaching is not what they're used to. He teaches like he has authority and not like the scribes. The later part is about that style of teaching. The scribes tend to quote other authorities. Jesus just comes and lays it out. He teaches as one with authority and not the way the scribes teach. The content of the teaching is different. The style is different. It's not the act of teaching, it's the content and the style of teaching that is astonishing. And how do we know that? We know that because the teaching in question, didache, is a noun and not a participle, didaskon, which would be the act of teaching. So grammar clears it up for us. beautifully. Thanks for watching. I hope you found that interesting. If you did, please tell a friend, share the video on your social media, that sort of thing. And until next time, Cars Kyrie Humin, grace and peace to you.